This is All Roads Lead To with Al and Jayné.
The place where we share and talk about the people, places, and passions
that have impacted us on the road of life.
Got Georgia on my mind.
Georgia the whole day through. That's what we're talking about today on our episode, All Roads Lead to Georgia. I kind of remember when we kind of got even more familiar with that song watching the movie Ray.
Yes.
And how that song became actually the state song of Georgia. We're thinking about Georgia today as All Roads Lead to Georgia, especially in the context of Martin Luther King Jr. Day in the year 2021. And to think that had he continued to live from the time of his birth till now, he would have been 92 years old. Wow. That's 92 years of living. So that's amazing to see. That's amazing to think of. So is there a favorite quote of Dr. King's that you have?
Yeah, I can think of one. I was thinking too, as you're saying that, just to think that so many years, like he passed away at such an early age. There's so many years that he could have contributed to and really been a part of the national scene and really helped to shape, the course and direction of America. So it's just I think continue to think of the loss that is, but also how much, as you really described, how much he gave in 39 short years.
Yes.
And so one quote, that comes to mind is, "Darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that."
Wow, that's a good one. One of my favorite quotes comes from 1963, letter to the Birmingham jail, where he starts off by saying, "My dear fellow clergymen, while confined here in the Birmingham City Jail, I came across your recent statements calling our present activities unwise and untimely." And then he goes later on in that just brilliant letter to say that we are all tied in one single garment of human destiny in an inescapable web of mutuality. And just one of my all-time favorite quotes from Dr. King. When you think about his life, that he was born in Georgia, born in Atlanta, born a son of the South, attended schools there, attended Morehouse there, but then chose to travel north.
He was so young, graduating high school, entering college.
Yes, right? Very young in early age, doing that. And after college, comes north, goes to Crozer Theological Seminary, which at that time was in Chester, Pennsylvania. Now the school is relocated, and because they merged with a school named Colgate in Rochester, New York. But at that time, it was in Pennsylvania. He came north for school there. Then after finishing Crozer, went to Boston for graduate school and got his PhD there. And then after doing that, he had all kinds of options. He could have stayed in the north, could have done all sorts of things, but felt the pull to go south. I remember in All Roads Lead to LA, we talked about Isabel Wilkerson's book, The Warmth of Other Suns, about the Black migration north.
Yes.
And it seems as though, at least in our time, we've seen kind of a remigration south.
Right. They call it like a new migration.
A new migration. Yeah, we know a lot of people who are moving south, and particularly to Georgia.
Absolutely. Yeah, I was thinking like Charlotte, there's North Carolina, you see gravitations there, but definitely a lot of gravitation towards the greater now, I think, Atlanta area. But we also know some people have moved out to other parts of Georgia too, Augusta.
That's true.
Other areas. I just think about where, I kind of feel like my parents a little bit, where I can say, I remember when.
That's true.
And I remember when there wasn't a national holiday for Martin Luther King Jr.
Yes. Yeah.
And I feel that I remember it was almost like a campaign of people who really were expressing the need for this and why, and kind of giving justification or testimony in essence of why he should be honored. Why as an American, his life should be honored with a national holiday. And I feel that we're at a time where a lot of people who were present for that or who were a part of that aren't necessarily at the fore. And I feel that a lot of people are coming up and seemingly not understanding or appreciating or seeing it to be valid. And I know I've encountered situations where it's not a work stoppage day, or there's, it's an acknowledged holiday, but you can still keep doing this, or we're going to still need, you to keep working. And so I just really hope to really acknowledge and really reaffirm that he really is a framer of our democracy.
Absolutely.
And I think as such, it's timeless. Like there's no place I don't feel that America will grow to a place where he will not, acknowledging his contributions will not be needed in this form. And he's a framer of our democracy. I think our current democracy that expanded and really helped to, and he was an architect because it hasn't been realized. And I think perfectly at some point it will be realized, but we would still need to honor those who were the architects of our, the founding fathers of, our initial democracy coming in the 1700s. But I really feel it's imperative to understand that these truths that we hold to be self-evident, he helped to make that realized for all Americans. Yes. And his reach was beyond color. It was really so that this dream, these guarantees, these rights will be felt and experienced and exercised by all of us. And I think, it's imperative that we honor that and to honor what he spearheaded. Yeah. And there's so many who helped to make it possible. There's so many different strands of that work of equity that's still going on. Yeah. And so, yes, there's so many others who play a part, but he really was architect. And I was reading recently the reprint of his book, Where Do We Go From Here, Community or Chaos, where his wife, Coretta Scott King, acknowledged that it was a tragedy that we lost him, but it would be even a greater tragedy if we did not continue to push forward the ideals and the blueprint really that he gave for economic and social justice. And it's just really imperative, I think, and it's so ironic that we're still at a crossroads even today. Yes. Where so much of what he was challenging for marginalized people. And then, that book really looks at marginalized people across color lines. Yeah. And, impoverished, marginalized, like those are people he was championing. And that's the American promise is for them as much as anyone else. And so I just think that the day of service and, using this time to do something for someone else honors his legacy. But the holiday itself is the honor of who he was. And one of the things that she said is that, these labors and this, he sacrificed his life for. And so by his sacrifice, we should honor it not only with the day and commemorating, but also with our work and our pursuits.
Well, so it was beautifully and brilliantly said. And I also think in addition to that it should not be lost on us that there is a continuing legacy that we ought to remember and uphold from the King holiday itself. And here's what I'm specifically talking about when I say that is we sing this new version of Happy Birthday, and now it's just a new way of singing Happy Birthday. Right. But it was actually a song Stevie Wonder started to galvanize a movement so that there would actually be a King holiday. And I think that really should not be lost. Absolutely. Really in any of our remembrances or our conversations about the King holiday, that there was a movement that had to be galvanized, and Stevie Wonder was a part of that. And that whole Happy Birthday to you, and that whole Happy Birthday song, the way we sing it, we just kind of sing it and we call it, the urban version or the hip version of singing Happy Birthday now. But no, that was really a part of a wider movement that actually galvanized and motivated people. And Harry Belafonte,
his wife Coretta Scott King, Stevie Wonder, and so many more.
So many others. Yeah. And so when the bill was signed into law back in the 80s by President Reagan, it's because a whole lot of people had done a lot of work. So every time we sing that song, and every time you hear that song, I think it's something that we ought to remember, that this was just not something that was composed so that we could have a different version, but there's a story behind it. Kind of all roads lead to the King holiday. And as we talk about all roads lead to Georgia today, remember that, again, as we said before, Dr. King lived, born in the South, lived in the North for a while, got a chance to see what life was like there, but ended up coming south. We have some friends who did a similar thing, born different places, but lived in the South for a while, came north, and now they are back there in Georgia. We want to talk with and spend some time with our friends, Melvin and Leslie Bray. I'm looking forward to our conversation with them, and we will talk with them right after the break.
Very exciting.
Hi, I'm Jaylen, and I'm the creative director for All Roads Lead To Media. And I'm here to let you know that you can listen to All Roads Lead To with Al and Jayné on Amazon Music by saying, Alexa, play All Roads Lead To podcast.
Thanks for hanging around. Thanks for being with us for All Roads Lead To. We are excited today because we have with us some of our good friends in just the persons of Melvin Bray and Leslie Watson Bray, our good friends who are with us from the state of Georgia.
Georgia.
Yes, indeed. The dirty, baby.
That's right.
All eyes are on Georgia.
That's right. All eyes are on Georgia. All roads lead to Georgia. And hey, guys, how you doing today?
Doing well.
We're good.
It's good to see you.
Good. Now, I've been trying to think about it. How long exactly have we known each other? I mean,
since the beginning.
Yes. Okay. We'll just take that.
There was a together.
Yes.
It wasn't each other.
I'm telling you. Melvin and I, we were in high school together, and we've had some times. We could talk. Man. We could have a lifetime worth of podcasts.
Yes,
talks
indeed.
Just about the things we did, said, and talked about during high school.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
That was a great time. Just absolute great time for me, and I know it was for you, our other friends, Sheldon and Keith.
Yeah,
were right. We were the fearsome foursome.
That's right. The philosophers club.
Whatever it was. Yeah.
And that was back at Pine Forge for those who don't know. Which kind of factors in now as new generations of people get a chance to get there. I was the only one of us that got a chance to go back and teach, though.
That's true. That is true. We're going to talk about that in a second. Go ahead. You had something?
Yeah, no, I was going to say Melvin and Leslie were like one of the gifts from marriage that I got. I didn't know them I knew them through Al, and they really have been. I just kind of went from the start. I was going to say it off camera, but I was like, let me say it off camera. So they really have been an inspiration to me, I think, all along. You know, you see these ships, like I guess my kids are calling it now, where, you know, you see these celebrity couples and they give them a name that merges their names. And I feel like Leslie and Melvin were like that early on. They were like couple goals. Like you guys were #couple goals. The chemistry was like electric. It's like Melvin seemed like he had hit the jackpot. I mean, Leslie's beautiful, she's smart. And then Leslie like brings out the best in Melvin. Because I remember Melvin would just kind of be everywhere. But like Leslie could just like she believed in him, like you could see the support, but like she brought it all, like it all came together when she was around.
I wasn't gonna go there, but I'm gonna just give a look. I can talk about the choir trip that we were on.
Yeah.
We were on a choir tour and we went to Nashville.
Mm-hmm.
Melvin saw Leslie and it was over.
I believe it.
It was over.
Everybody else on the trip?
Yes.
There was only one person worth spending time with that trip.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right.
Yes.
So that's where it began, and we began hanging out. Leslie and I used to sing in a group together.
Okay.
In one accord.
In one accord. Leslie's one of the best altos that you would ever want to have in your group for real, and really one of the best people. And over the years, we've had an opportunity to spend some good times together and just have some enjoyable, some laughs. And one of my favorite times that we spent together, guys, was, I guess, the last time when we came through, just hanging out. I think we stayed up to 4 or 5 in the morning, just talking. And it was like natural. I mean, we sometimes you have a conversation when somebody's like, okay, well, maybe this will end it, but it just kept going and going and going, And
I think, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, it was so good to have y'all in our home, right? Like, it's one thing to have these friendships that stretch way back, but and so you're often constantly drawing on what has been, who you've been to one another, but to be able to watch that friendship evolve and emerge and be a part of who we are in this thick of life, as I tell my father, in the thick of life, raising kids and stuff, and to watch the opportunity, to have the opportunity to watch the friendship evolve and emerge and become even more beautiful over time. It was such a gift to have y'all visit with us and such.
Yeah. And to give context, it just shows how awesome they are, though, because I think we were coming from Huntsville. Yeah. And we had come another way going down, and we're like, we should go through Atlanta, take the kids to Atlanta. And I was like, we should call Melvin. It was so spontaneous, and they could have been like, dude, for real, we got little kids, we gotta get the house clean, how y'all can go roll up on us. But they were so open, and it just, you have very few friends that you can do that with, and Al has always been like that with Melvin, and Leslie's always on board, and it's just, that's what makes it really special, and I really appreciate that. And you guys, I remember she made cookies, just amazing, on the spot, and I know we were all that's little kids, every penny pinching, all that. And it was just wow. They just, you guys are awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
You all have been wonderful friends. And so I'm thankful that you are current friends. So,
yeah. Because that is true. A lot of the people that you rolled with then, you're still not rolling with now. Yeah. And a lot of people, I guess I call them high maintenance friendships. If you don't keep up with them and all of a sudden you lose touch, it's gone. But even times when we're not as in touch with each other as we used to be, when we pick up, it's still just right there. Yeah. So Melvin and Leslie are both gifted educators.
Yes.
And guys, talk about that a little bit for our audience and maybe some of the things that you're doing right now.
All right. Well, I'll jump in. I've been homeschooling / unschooling the children since I've had them. They haven't had to be in school. I was a classroom teacher before coming home to start our family. And so I do have that traditional education background, which I've been able to release a lot of those colonizer ways through this process of being with my children. And so currently, I lead a community of families here in Atlanta, Kid Cultivators Homeschooling Community. We have people who are doing school at home all the way to radical unschooling, but we just try to provide community, support, encouragement. Wherever families are, they can come and get the support they need, the encouragement they need, the camaraderie, in touch with resources. So that's something I've been doing. I do have some new things that are on my list of things that I'm going to get to this year, which I'm excited about. Okay. And so, I'm not going to name any of those right at this moment because we're still working those things out. But
come back for part 2.
I'm embracing all the things that God has put on my heart to do.
Beautiful.
That seems natural to me because I remember Leslie was one of those moms. I was telling Al, this didn't actually happen because our kids were before, they were toddlers. But Leslie was one of those moms, if they asked for okay, let's bring baked goods to the classroom or something, that Leslie would be the mom who would have the one dessert that everybody would want. It would have no sugar, no gluten, and all the kids would eat it. And they would leave your little box brownies to go to hers. And then you'd be like, Leslie, what are in these? And she'd be like, oh, I had a greenhouse in the backyard and I had agave that I was growing and I put it in the cookies. And she would look all presentable. Her kids would be well adjusted and you would feel like a failure. You'd be like, what am I on?
But it wouldn't be because because some people come in and they know they have like the best thing and they will be all flossy with it. That's not Leslie. She'd be real low key with it, but she would be like the best. And so I feel like what you're doing seems so organic because you are so resourceful. She was like, I really feel like inspired, I think, in a lot of ways when my kids were younger. She was always kind of foresight. Yeah. And I think it was like those natural teacher instincts. Like she would know when the kids were going to do something before they did it. So we all didn't get the benefit. My kids would like flail out and then I would learn like, oh, I got to do this before this happens. Yeah. But Leslie was like always on it. But I had to learn that because I think as a mom, sometimes you get a little insecure sometimes or you feel judgy. And I had to really relax and just be like, because I had a lot of friends that were educators. I feel like they used to show me, I used to feel so terrible. They're like, I don't know what I'm doing. But they were always great. And it was really inspirational. And she would open me up and we used to go pick strawberries with the kids and things like that. So to hear that you're doing this, it just actually is really encouraging because I think it seems so natural. You were that person, even I think without trying. Like, I really feel like I learned so much from you. I remember one of my favorite things she used to do is take a picture the last day of this kid's age. Yeah. So it'd be like the last day of 9, the last day of 3. And it was so brilliant because it celebrated them and it acknowledged that they're moving on. It's a milestone. And then it shared with all of us, like, hey, their birthday's coming. So it's actually like a nice low-key kind of hint. Like, oh, Jayné, I'm going to be on it. And I don't think that was her intent, but it was just so I'm so excited that you're doing this. So we'll definitely try to share like all your info and stuff. That is so awesome. Yeah. How many years have you've been doing this for a while? I mean, you've been doing it with your children, but this is in Atlanta area. Like, how long has this been going on?
I think we're in our 13th season.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's awesome.
That's great.
Yeah.
No, absolutely great. Come on, talk to us, Mel.
Well, you mentioned the strawberry picking, and I want to say, like, those are some of my favorite pictures from our children's childhood.
Yes.
The pictures that y'all took, strawberry picking, going down to the creek, just doing different things when we were all living up toward Pennsylvania. Yeah. So that's exciting.
Shout out to Evelyn and Keith because they're Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
But talk about because you're an educator. I think you taught, like you're saying, in high school. To me, some of my high school teachers are why I like the subjects I like. And I was thinking about, like, our kids would be so, if you were there at Pine Forge now, it would be like, so brilliant. I was thinking about that.
They'd be calling, crying, he's so mean. He's so
But tell us about your journey a little bit.
Oh, goodness. So, education journey. Like Leslie was saying, we both went into the classroom coming out of college and taught for Atlanta Public Schools for a while. And then I started a small nonprofit called Kid Cultivators that was originally focused on leadership development because that was the watchword coming out of the 90s into the 2000s. But then kind of started to focus on this notion of ecology and eco-literacy. And I got a chance to farm with kids and to help kids overcome phobias through just putting their hands in the dirt and learning how to be around animals and, all this kind of stuff, and watched how that impacted their ability to really make sense of and to find value in classroom learning, more formalized learning. So did that for several years, got a chance to go back to Pine Forge and teach at Pine Forge, taught English there for a couple years, came back to Atlanta. Most of the time I taught high school and or middle school going into high school. But when I came back to Atlanta after a stint in adult education, English literacy, I ended up teaching third graders. And that was it was the third graders and the elementary school students that got me back into the garden again. So I did some more eco-literacy work for a while, and just have loved every moment of that. Now I do design-based facilitation, which is a lot like Montessori school for adults. Right, they're trying to solve problems or whatever, right? Like being able to help them design ways forward, and I get to focus primarily on equity, diversity, and inclusion, which last year was a real reckoning around those ideas. So got a chance to be able to walk with lots of different folk. But what my real excitement around education of late is that now that my kids are that age, high school and such age students or kids, I've gotten a chance to start working with them around some advanced math and some writing and such. So, right, like they're just like, okay, daddy's gonna do this again. But I'm like geeked out of my mind, right? Like, then I get to take this thing that meant so much for so long and give it to these children who mean the world to me, right? Like and so it's kind of like my last hurrah around the kind of formal education piece. And so to be able to hand that off to these babies is like such a gift in this moment. And that that came out of last year and us being stuck here at the house, and trying to figure out how do we adapt in ways that continue to allow us to grow and become.
Guys, I mean, I'm like blown away. I mean, there's a whole lot that I know, but really, you guys are in your sweet spot. I mean, both of you. I mean, and it comes through, and it is. And Melvin did not say this, and I'm going to say it. In between all of that he just talked about, Melvin is an Emmy winner as well. He's an Emmy winner, yes. For real, Emmy winner.
Like real statue.
Real statue. I mean, this is not just in my head or in my mind. No, Melvin is an Emmy winner, and he is an author of a book entitled Better. And so, guys, just great to hear about what you have done and for you to share with our broader audience some of the things you've done as well. This episode is All Roads Lead to Georgia, where you all are. And we've been talking about this kind of north-south thing that is going on. And in your experience, you lived in the north and lived in the south. We kind of talked about earlier how Dr. King was born in the south, but went to the north for school, had all the opportunities to stay there, but decided to come back to the south. Now, you guys had an interesting journey to Georgia. I remember, Melvin and Leslie, Melvin saying this had to be sophomore, maybe even junior year of college. When I graduate, I'm going to Atlanta. I mean, it was even then. Like Melvin was talking about going to Atlanta, going to Georgia. I mean, guys, talk about your journey to Georgia, so to speak.
So Al is proof that you want to be careful about what you do around certain people, because certain people never forget. Right?
That's great.
Whereas my memory is awful. Al's reaching back in specific years.
Oh man.
So the short of how we got to Georgia is when we were thinking about being married and starting our lives together. We looked around and was trying to decide where to be. I was, from DC, and Leslie was from Nashville, and at least that's where we the bulk of our growing up, right. And it just seemed really odd and unfair to try to force the other to try to make life in the place that already knew us, right? The place that had raised us. And so we started looking at alternatives, and Atlanta was the place where we both had just a little bit of family, but it was the type of family that wouldn't be all in your business.
Right.
And so we said, Atlanta it is, right? And so that's at least in my memory, that's how we got over here. Is that accurate? Would you agree?
Yeah, I'll say yes.
But I mean, I feel like in a lot of ways, you guys were some of the early. I was looking at some stats saying that over like the last 30 years, there have been over 1 million Blacks that have gone back to the South. And I know for a long time, the idea was to get out of the South. in a sense that, it was repressed and there weren't options. And so I know even living, because we all went to school in Alabama. So, I remember people telling people I'm going to school in Huntsville, Alabama. They kind of look like, why would you choose to do that? And I think a lot of it was just like a lot of judgment on the South, that somehow it's dated and that, it's the ideas, the options, they're all dated. And I don't think that this is kind of like a categorical, impression that I think often when people visited or went to different places, they had different experiences. But there was still, I think, at least that time, some stigma on going to the South, particularly as a choice if you didn't necessarily have roots there, or if there wasn't something that was drawing you there, a great job opportunity or something. It wasn't like, oh, we're going to Atlanta. But now, so many people we know are like plotting and planning to get to Atlanta, to get to Nashville, to get to Birmingham. And so I think, to me, in a lot of ways, a lot of our friends that I think even living like the DC, Maryland area, and even going further south, like you might be in Northern Virginia, but you continue to go south. And that seems to be reflective in what we're seeing in local politics. So I just wanted to see what you guys thought of. Have there been some changes that you've seen, or was that already happening and it just kind of was a little bit under the radar? Or have there been a lot of changes in like the Atlanta area since you've been there?
Yeah, I think like just the building up, I think people think about the cost of living first, because, the time we spent in the North, oh my goodness, I was always floored by the prices of everything. Just whether it's food, whether it's gas, with like clothing, everything was just so much more. So I think that's an appealing thing when you start looking at housing, when you start looking at, oh my goodness, you're only paying that. I put a lot of people down just on, look at what you can pay. Look how much house you can get.
Yes.
Now politics are recently changing, so it's not for we didn't choose Georgia for the politics. Okay. And we were very clear about Atlanta, everything else in Georgia. Like it's still the deep South. So there's something about being in the right set of numbers, like so being with Black people versus being out where you might be one or two. It's still Georgia. So I think even like Nashville's another place that has built up. When I've gone through, it does not look anything like it did when I lived there. So I think there's definitely more opportunities because people are going there, and so they're creating them. They're becoming a part of those opportunities. But I don't necessarily think like we didn't look at Atlanta because of the politics here. It was really, where can we come where Black people are living well, where we can get our, feet wet, traction, do the things that we want to do, and, see, because it's not until you get on the ground somewhere that you actually see, okay, what's really going on here.
Right.
And Black people do live well in Atlanta. Even going back to the 80s when my father moved down here, you'd come down and there was just a certain quality of life for middle class folk, for even lower middle class folk that was not mirrored back home in DC where I was. My father in DC lived in an apartment. In here, 3-bedroom house, and probably the rent was, his mortgage payment was probably lower, even in the 80s. So there's definitely that. There was a moment in the mid-aughts when there was about 500 new people moving to Atlanta a day.
Wow.
Right? So there was this particular kind of boom that was happening then. And definitely wasn't related to the politics, but was related to people being able to make a living, people being able to tap into what we were thinking of as the American dream, getting that house, that picket fence. People were able to, and I think there was this kind of this cultural, this sense of cultural empowerment that Atlanta has, and specific places, right? Like, so I've heard people talk about this, that it's places where those who have sought to colonize and oppress have done their work the most, where that actually tend to be places that produce the most kind of resistance, fervor, cultural renaissance, this kind of thing. Right? Like it's like the pressure that creates the diamond, so to speak. And so you could feel the cultural empowerment that was here. And it's easy once you touch it to want to be a part of it, to want to be a part of the center and the education that came from Clark and Morehouse and Spelman and Morris Brown at the time, to want to be a part of all these places where we were dining at places where King and Vincent Harding and Andy Young were strategizing for the movie, right? These became our regular haunts, right? Like, so, that kind of stuff draws you in and makes you and roots you into a place, right? So we felt like our hearts kind of got buried here in the South, even when we left for no real reason. We just kept wanting to come back.
And that's what I wanted to get to. Because you were there. And again, you guys have a great worldview, people all over. You left, but came back. I mean, when you left, was there any temptation kind of like, okay, we've kind of done that and now we'll just try something else? Or was it just, hey,
Yes, no, we were having that conversation while at Pine Forge because initially it was, we'll do this for a couple years and then we'll go back. That's what we ended up doing. But while we were there, I started imagining, okay, what would it be like to be here? I am close to the family. At the time, my grandmother was 40 minutes away from us. So, my children got to know her and just, thinking more about maybe we need to think about being with family as opposed to just being home, quote unquote. And we talked because that was right after President Obama was elected. Like, we started thinking about other spaces that matched better with our politics. And so what are the spaces where we could be active and it actually represents us, because all the work we had been doing prior to leaving Atlanta, all the voting, all those things we were doing and all the people we knew that were doing didn't produce what we're just now seeing. Wow. And so we were trying to decide, do we go back there? And one of the conversations I do remember us having was, well, we've put roots down. Like we have our network, the people that we look to, they're here. The people we've been building with, they're here. And just what's more important to us at the time. So I think we threw up our hands like, okay, well, we can do the work of trying to mobilize things, but the value of the connections we had with people on the ground here really brought us back.
One of the things I seem to observe, but I'd be curious to see if it's on the ground in a sense, is that there seemed to be a tension between people in a sense looking to reclaim. I mean, you talk about it like being the cradle of civil rights there. You have Maynard and Andrew, and now there's Keisha Bottoms, Lance Bottoms, and Stacey Abrams. But is there a tension between like individuals kind of reclaiming or taking hold of what had been lost or denied, and those who are trying to preserve it? Or are you seeing I'm hearing it's like a fusion politics where you have just a younger generation of people of all different colors and creeds kind of coming together for progress? What does it feel like on, like in the state?
Well, I guess it's a little bit of all of that.
Okay.
So again, Atlanta is different Atlanta is located in the Deep South.
Right.
But Atlanta is a very different animal than what we think of when we think of the Deep South. So, for example, for the past, Atlanta has had a Black mayor and predominantly Black city council for more than 40 years.
Wow.
Now. And, Maynard Jackson was the first Black mayor, and that's back in the 70s. And then there was this kind of Black political elite that helped to make that possible coming out of the civil rights, right? Like, so coming out of the freedom movement of the 60s, people, all the young folk, the folk who were involved in SNCC and the middle-aged folk who were involved in SCLC and these other entities, they then settled into trying to make real the dream of America, right? Like, so people went and started careers in think tanks and in educational institutions and in churches, and folk went into public service, into public office. Folk who had been young people on the front lines. They did all that, and they rooted themselves in a particular kind of community in a particular kind of way, and that's what kind of made for, they used that power, that power that they had built locally in constituency with one another. They used that to put Maynard in office, and then to create the Black political machine that kept feeding more people. But like as with everything, those who invest in the system has a way of, our system of politics and our system of capitalism has a way of co-opting us and reshaping us in its own image, right? Like,
wow.
So you start to try to navigate that system, and you become a creature of that system and of the politics related to that. And so there began to be this kind of rift, this particularly like as you round the course of the 80s into the 90s, between the Black political elite and upwardly mobile and more affluent classes of people who are being highly educated and starting to live out their dreams, and the 87, 88, 90% of those who don't have access to those same things. Okay. One of the things I didn't realize when we were all in college was that only about 12 to 13% of Black people go to college.
Yeah, that's true. We're watching a different world.
Yeah, we're watching a different world. We're relating to that. We're thinking about, we had trips to the White House, met the president, and all this other stuff, right? Like we're involved in the places where, where Hamilton, in the room where it happens in some regards, maybe only 1 or 2 degrees removed from the room where it happens. Whereas, the masses of Black folk weren't experiencing that kind of upward momentum, and so with that in mind, the movement work that you're seeing now that's producing the kind of politics, more progressive politics that you're seeing now, is a movement that really is about saying, hey, we cannot forget the overwhelming majority of our people.
Wow. Yeah. Wow, you're getting an education on All Roads Lead to today with Melvin and Leslie.
He never disappoints.
Never disappoints. That was worth the price of admission right there. So, I mean, we've seen a spotlight on Georgia this past year, most particularly with the death of John Lewis, the election of Dr. Warnock and John Ossoff. Has Georgia really felt its impact on national politics with those events, or what's it really been like, again, at the ground level?
I would say yes and no, because so many things happen so quickly. We didn't even get to have a whole yay before the craziness at the Capitol.
The Trumpist insurrection of 2021. That's my bid on what we call this going into the future. Trumpist insurrection. It happened less than 24 hours after.
Yeah. And so there was, and then with COVID, while there are lots of people not wearing masks and who have even traveled to Atlanta to party, so I think there's going to be even more cases showing up here locally. Not being able to be with people to celebrate in real time is also something we've missed. Because in previous elections, there'd be parties, you could go out and see people celebrate. So I think we've missed that collective celebration. There have been thanks, like I've been online and, publicly thanked different organizations and people, including Stacey Abrams and her team. So we know the people who have been on the ground working. I think we have not, it just feels different because of where we are in time.
Yeah. I mean, we didn't really get a chance to mourn as a community the passing of Lewis.
Yeah.
Right? Like we were left to watch it on TV, more like spectacle, more
so
through other people's takes, right? Whereas Leslie and I have always lived in his district. You know, at least not, if not always, let's see, since 2000 or no, I'm sorry, since about 2005. But the point is, right, like we've worked in this district, we've lived in this district. There's a way in which the community would have come together to experience that and to find our way forward in that way that you do, that we just didn't get a chance to do it. I mean, but it's been a blessing, those who have risen up in the wake of it, right? Like Quanta Hall stepping in and finishing his term, Nikema Williams stepping up and saying, you know, here I am, send me, right? Like, and then doing the greater work of whipping the Georgia Democratic Party into shape, so that it could actually get behind and support the efforts of folk like Stacey Abrams and Latasha Brown with Black Votes Matter and all the other smaller organizations, you know, Black Men Vote and these kinds of organizations that were doing this on the ground grassroots work, right? If it hadn't been for Nikema being the one who started to right the ship of the Georgia Democratic Party, we may not have had the necessary establishment infrastructure in place to really pull off the victory of Ossoff and Warnock.
Wow. Well, everybody, you heard it here, and you heard it right. You heard it best from our friends, Melvin and Leslie Bray. Thanks so much for just taking us on a trip and helping us to understand your road as it led to Georgia and your life as it is right now. Now, before we go, we know time is of the essence. We want to give you kind of like a little quiz we do at the end. We're used to being on the side of the giving of the quiz.
Exactly.
School's in session.
Right.
All right, so we're going to give you just 5 questions. We call it our Lipton-like quiz in honor of James Lipton, who would give that great quiz on the end of Inside the Actors Studio. So we got just 5 quick questions for you, and I'll start out first. Now, this is an either or. These first couple are either or. Is it subs or is it a hoagie?
Oh, I know this answer. It's a hoagie.
It depends on where you're from.
Right.
It's a hoagie, baby.
Right. Okay, so in terms of music, Prince or Michael?
Ooh, we might be the only folk in the world that like them both.
All right, fair enough.
Right, that's not. I mean, growing up, it was Michael all the way. Growing up, it was Michael all the way. But you know, when Prince passed, I was like, you know, started to take that trip down memory lane, and so much a part of just the soundtrack of our lives.
That's right.
All right.
Okay.
I'm with you on that.
All right, who you got? Now, come on. Who you got? One or the other? Jesse or Al?
I'll go with Jesse.
Historically, it's been Jesse.
All right.
I got a newfound love for Al, but historically, it's been Jesse.
All right, just moving away from those a little bit. And if restrictions are lifted, what would be one of your post-pandemic firsts? What are one of the first things you would like to do?
Go see family and hug them.
Yeah.
Like hugging family. I miss that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I got some folk I want to grab a beverage with.
Governors always use that term, beverage. All right. What other than your own profession would be a profession you'd like to attempt? We'll get you out of here with this question.
Ooh. I've always wanted to be a camp director.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm falling so in love with who I am. I can't think of doing anything else than just being more of me. So.
That's great. That's it.
That is a great answer. And these are two great people that we know who have impacted us on the road of life. Thank you, Melvin.
Yes.
Thank you, Leslie. First of all, thank you for just being who you are.
Yes.
Thank you for being our friends. And thank you for being here today for this episode of All Roads Lead To with Al and Jayné. So before we go, we want you to know where you can catch up with Melvin and Leslie. You can go to Facebook and just look up Kid Cultivators, and you'll get information for them there. And especially you'll find their information about the homeschool community. So you can look up Kid Cultivators Homeschool Community on Facebook, and you will find information for Melvin and Leslie right there. You can also catch Melvin on Twitter. He's on Twitter. His handle is The Melvin Bray. That's TheMelvinBray. And please, by all means, go and pick up his book anywhere you buy books online, or even when you go physically to visit the stores. The book is entitled Better by Melvin Bray. So you can look that up, and by all means go and connect with them there and in those places. So guys, thanks again for coming on today.
We thank you. Thank you for thinking of us, and thank you for being there all this time. It's all good.
All good all the time. All right, thanks guys.
Peace.
We are so glad to share our podcast with you. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and on social media.
So please listen, share, and tell a friend about All Roads Lead To with Al and Jayné, the place where we talk about the people, the places, and the passions that have impacted us along the road of life.